Hi guys, I just want to make a quick little video to show you how to make a mandala. This is a finished mandala that I did and it looks a little bit complicated, but I'm going to break down the steps so that it makes it easier for you to create one of your own. What you're going to do first is you're going to have a piece of paper, and it's important to divide your paper into halves and then into which gives you 4 parts, and then you divide it again, and then you have 8 parts. And then these concentric rings will help you as far as when you're drawing your elements. It kind of gives you a guideline of how far up you can draw, and I'll demonstrate that for you. Mandalas have something called radial symmetry, which means that if you think about this, each of these triangles, these 8 triangles, as a pie piece, each pie piece needs to have the exact same thing happen in the exact same location all the way around, okay? All right, so now we're going to get started drawing your mandala. And what we want to do first is you want to start in the middle, and this is a pie piece, this is a pie piece, so you have these 8 pie pieces, and you can think to yourself, what do I want to do? A lot of times I either tell people to think of either a line or a shape. So you could say to yourself, maybe I want to draw a V here. So if I draw a V here, then I'm going to turn my paper and I'm going to draw a V in the exact same spot. Turn my paper, draw a V in the exact same spot. Turn my paper, here's my V, turn my paper, my V, turn my paper. Well, that one was maybe a little bit off. So here's my V, and my V. Okay, now back to the beginning. So it looks kind of like a star shape in the middle. If you wanted to, you could do a curve, a curve, a curve, a curve, a curve, and then you would have a center in the middle. All right. And then once you have what you've started here, then you can build off of it. So you can say to yourself, what do I want to happen in this pie piece? What shape or line do I want to draw? The other thing you can do is you can also, now that we have these points here, we can also add something on this axis line. And if we do, we would do it to all the different axis lines. So for example, let's say a lot of times what I like to do is start with a curve. So we could just curve down, and then we can curve up. And then we can curve down, and then we can curve up. And you're rotating your paper with each line that you draw, and it kind of helps you. And what makes this relaxing is you're just kind of getting into like a rhythm of curve down, curve up, curve down, curve up, curve down, curve up, right? And then we're back to the beginning again. Another thing you can think about is if you ever want to do something in the middle of these, after I drew the curve, well, maybe I want to put something in the middle of it. So maybe I want to make sort of like a rainbow. Now, one of the things that I want to point out as well, this is a good opportunity to do this, is if I'm doing something in the middle of my pie piece, what I want to do is kind of create, just very lightly, I want to create another line that sort of divides this pie piece in half. So what that tells me is when I make this little rainbow shape, it needs to really be in the middle there. So I'm going to do the same thing here, where I just lightly kind of come down and I see, oh, that's facing the right way. Sometimes what happens is when you don't have that, your shape or your line tends to lean, and then it just makes your mandala a little bit off. I'm just eyeballing this roughly. So then I would make my rainbow there. Again, I'm just roughly, I'm just doing it really lightly. I don't know if you can even see it on the video, but there's another one. And whenever you're making your shapes or your lines, you want to try to make them the same. So I want to try to make that the same thickness and the same height and whatnot. But we're not computers, so or machines. So obviously sometimes, you know, it's not going to be exactly, and that's okay. So don't get too hung up on perfection, too totally hung up on perfection. Okay, so now we have this. Then you can say to yourself, all right, maybe I want to connect. Now I'm looking at this pie piece. Maybe I want to connect these 2 points. So it's nice that I have my little line here, so I can do diagonal up, diagonal back. And then I turn and I'm doing diagonal up and diagonal back. And diagonal up and diagonal back. Diagonal up, diagonal back. I'm just rotating it as I go. Diagonal up, diagonal back. Diagonal up, diagonal back. Okay. And the other thing you can think about is after you create shapes, you can decide, do I want this ring to be part of the design? So do I want to have a line here? Or maybe I don't. Maybe I just want this to be all one, because eventually our guidelines are going to get erased. Maybe I want it to look like this as opposed to this. So you can kind of decide, I want to keep that line, so I'm just going to kind of outline it more with my pencil. The other thing you can do is you can also say, maybe do I want to put like another shape within this shape? Like, so do I want to put like a circle and a circle in there? And that might be too busy for you, and you might say, I don't like that. But as you go, you can make this more intricate. For example, I could say, I want that line that's coming down in the middle of this triangle to be there, or maybe I don't. I think I like it without, so I'm just going to put this back. So I'm just going to leave it like that. Another thing you can do is, I've been drawing up to the guidelines, but maybe you want to skip one of the guidelines. So I don't want to, maybe I don't want to draw a shape to there. Maybe I want to draw a shape up to here, or a line. Maybe I want to put a circle here. Maybe I want to, instead, if I do it right in here, maybe I want to draw another diagonal line kind of right up in there in between these two. So if I do that, then I want to kind of say, all right, and then you make sure, oh, I'm going up to the exact same guideline as I did this one. And it helps when you rotate it, because then you can kind of see where you want. Okay, so I'm going around, and then I just put a line and a line, line down, line down. Putting those little markers is often a good idea, because it kind of helps you to know, oh, I'm drawing my diagonal line down to that point. Rotating, line and line, down to there, down to there. Whoopsie. Well, I just showed you what you don't want to do. I accidentally skipped. I was thinking that looked funny. I accidentally skipped here, and I drew it in the wrong spot, which can happen. So I'm just going to let that be. And then here's my middle point. Here's my middle point. Here's my middle point. Middle point, and back to the beginning. All right. because I skipped in here though, does that mean that something can't happen in here? Sure, something can happen in here. Maybe I want to kind of make like a little oval on the top of there. So again, I'm just going, rotating, 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 rotating. All right, so I'm gonna let you kind of start your mandala and start to think about either what, mostly I've used lines, but what other shapes or lines I want to use to start creating my mandala. All right, so now that I have this basically filled in, you could say, this is how I want it to look. And you could start inking it before you color it. But another thing that you could do is once you kind of have it roughed in, then you can think about, are there any more details that I want to add or any more lines? And you can kind of say to yourself, where would I do that? Like, do I want to put a shape within a shape here? Like a little diamond inside that shape. So you can gradually make, if you wish, you can gradually make your mandala more intricate. So I'm just replicating this shape. And again, it's not, you're not going to be able to draw the shape exactly the same, but you're trying to use the guidelines and create the shape up to the best of your ability, the same size, same shape, same position. So I just decided to add this little guy here. Other things you could do is maybe I want to put a circle within a circle. You can do that. The other thing I can think about is I have this really large triangle here, and maybe I like it that big, but maybe I want to add maybe a smaller triangle within the triangle. So I'm making sure I have my middle line here. It's a little light, but I'm gonna go up and then down. See, my middle line is right here, so I'm gonna go up and then down. There's my middle line, up, down, middle, up, down, middle, up, down, middle, up, or down, up, down, saying it wrong, middle, going down and down. Okay, so I've done that. There are still other things you could do, but for now, let's say, oops, here, I have to get rid of these circles. I decided that I did not like them. So I'm just putting that back, and then I'm checking everything. And again, you can decide, like, do I want these guidelines that are here, which could be erased, or do I want to keep them as part of the design? I kind of like that. And I kind of like that this circle is here too. And I also like that there's this outer circle here. Okay, so after you've thought about all of your design and you like it, now it's time to start inking it. All right, guys, now here's the final part. Before you add color, you can see I have some guidelines that I chose not to outline. And so I'm just going to erase everything, and you can see there's some lines I didn't outline exactly perfectly. So I'm just using my eraser to clean all this up. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and do that. So you should be proud of yourselves. You've created a mandala, kind of like without having to buy a fancy coloring book. You've created your own. And now you can choose kind of which art mediums you want to use to add your color. Some art mediums that I recommend are either colored pencils or a variety of different markers. These are some kind of brush markers that I have. One end is a brush, the other end is really fine tip, which is nice because it allows you to get into small areas. One of the things too, in order to maintain the radial symmetry of your mandala, if you want it to be a true mandala, so you need to also think about how you add your color also in a symmetrical way. So for example, if I color in this little kind of hill or rainbow shape with this pinky purple, then I need to color all of these that. And sometimes what I like to do is even just, so I don't lose my place, and then I can just go back. And this is the relaxing part where you're just gonna kind of, you can put some nice music on. You can just think about how you're going to color your mandala. All right. This one is fairly simple, but here's one that I made that's a little more intricate. So again, you can add as many or as little details as you want to your mandala and enjoy.